read 423 books in 2025, so today I will be highlighting my top 25 favorite horror books of the year. If you don't know me, I'm Carrie, and I read a book a day to give you the best thriller, mystery, and horror book recommendations, so if you're into that, make sure to give me a follow. And if you don't believe me, trust that I'm confident enough in myself to not care, and I've proven myself enough. Before we get started, I would like to note that some of these books come out this year, but I read them last year, so I will be counting them. I also did a reread of Nestlings by Nat Cassidy and rated it 5 stars again, but I won't be counting that in this year's wrap-up. These are in no particular order. Bird Box by Josh Malerman is an apocalyptic horror that follows something terrifying that causes people to act violently when they see it, so the world has resorted to wearing blindfolds to get through life. I'd also like to note that I also rated the sequel Mallory 5 stars. Shy Girl by Mia Ballard publishes on April 7th here in the US, and it follows a woman named Gia who is down on her luck and takes a job for a wealthy man doing something totally unconventional. This is best to go into mostly blind, but definitely check your trigger warnings if you need to. The Caretaker by Marcus Kliewer publishes on April 21st, and it follows Macy who takes a strange job on Craigslist house sitting for this woman with a lot of weird rules. It's only for a few days, but this job turns out to be way more than she could have ever imagined. Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by McLeod Chapman is an apocalyptic possession-style horror book where people are being possessed by the alt-right media and absolutely obliterating each other worldwide. An Evil Premise by T. Marie Vandelli follows Jewel, whose sister is a famous author and falls into a coma after a strange accident. Jewel is contacted and told that her sister Deidre needs to turn in her manuscript, but obviously she can't, so Jewel decides to finish the story because she is also an author, but the premise of the story hits way too close to home and the lines between fiction and reality start to blur. Darker Days by Olde Heuvelt follows the residents of Bird Street who seem to have it all because every November they experience darker days where they have to sacrifice one of their own to live in abundance for the rest of the year, but this year something goes terribly wrong. Nowhere by Allison Gunn follows the police chief of a small Appalachian town named Rachel who has returned to work after the loss of her son. An ominous force seems to be calling children to the forest, and it puts Rachel and her family in immediate danger. Nowhere Burning by Katrina Ward publishes on February 24th, and this follows 3 storylines about how an old movie star's supposed haunted property has turned into a sanctuary for runaway children. Headlights by CJ Leede publishes on June 9th, and it follows an FBI agent named Dan who is on his way out from the job when he is summoned to Denver, a place that he fled from 4 years ago, with a message that it's happening again. People are waking up on the side of the road, wearing the skin of victims they've supposedly never met, and they all have something else in common. They have a single strand of hair tied around their tongues. Island Witch by Amanda Jayatissa is set in Sri Lanka, and it follows Amara, who is the daughter of a demon priest. The community is pretty against her family and suspicious of them, so when men in the area begin getting attacked, Amara knows that she needs to figure out who's doing this in order to clear her family's name. The Unseen by Ania Ahlborn follows Isla, who just absolutely loves being a mother. She already has 5 kids, but she's always wanted more, so when a strange child stumbles into her farm that seems to be orphaned, she decides to take this child in, and things go horribly wrong. Mean Spirited by Nick Roberts is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows a teacher whose previous student passes away under suspicious circumstances. One day he ends up adopting her dog, and tragedy and chaos seem to follow this dog everywhere, and things turn sinister. Widow's Point by Richard Chizmar and W.H. Chizmar follows the various stories of the haunted lighthouse Widow's Point, told through found footage and mixed media. Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews follows a young boy named Evander who lives under the care of a reclusive billionaire named Byron. Byron has 3 rules that Evander must follow. He cannot leave the property, he cannot go into the garden, and he cannot be alone with Byron's grandson who tried to unalive him. But when Byron unexpectedly passes away and Evander inherits the entire property, all of the rules go out the window. Forgotten Sisters by Cynthia Pelayo is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows sisters Jenny and Anna who live in a historic house on the side of the Chicago River, where more and more bodies are being discovered. When Anna sparks up a friendship with a listener of her podcast, Jenny grows very wary and things go totally awry. How to Fake a Haunting by Christa Carmen is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows a mother named Lainey whose husband is dealing with some intense alcoholism and she needs out of the relationship, but she cannot just simply leave for reasons I will not say, so she and her friend Adelaide decide to fake a haunting in order to scare this man out of the house and get rid of him once and for all. 13 Months Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano follows Piper, who is a library clerk and takes a special interest in an outcast girl named Avery, whose mother seems to follow her everywhere and who is not allowed to use any electronics. What is going on with this child? Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zeng by Kylie Lee Baker is available on Kindle Unlimited. This follows Cora, who is a crime scene cleaner, who unfortunately witnessed her sister die right in front of her. She soon realizes that many of her cleans have something in common, that they are all the bodies of East Asian women, and that there may be a serial unaliver on the loose, while she is also preparing for the Hungry Ghost Festival where the gates of hell open. Salt Bones by Jennifer Givhan follows Mal, who lives on the Mexicali borderlands that is absolutely ravaged by a climate crisis. There are girls going missing in the area, and Mal dives headfirst into an investigation while being stalked by a horse-headed woman. Ruins by Scott Smith follows a group of friends who are on vacation in Mexico when one of their brothers goes missing, and they decide to go deep into the forest where they stumble upon some ancient ruins that are haunted by an evil presence. Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows a witch hunter named Old Tom and his mute ward Rabbit who are on the hunt for a woman named Sadie accused of witchcraft. As their posse grows, so does the danger. Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones follows a young boy who is raised by his aunt and uncle who are mongrels. They're neither this nor that, and they have always lived on the edge of life, and this boy has always hoped that one day he will become like them. Will he? The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher follows Cora, who is working at her uncle's Museum of Oddities when she discovers a hole in the wall that leads her and her new friend Simon into a seemingly other dimension. The Mean Ones by Tatiana Schlote-Bonne follows Sadie, who has a traumatic backstory. She has changed her name. She used to be known as Sabrina, and 17 years ago, her two best friends were unalived while she hid under a bed at summer camp. She now has PTSD and hears talking dead animals. She has a deep fear of the woods, and she has now been invited to a cabin in the woods, and it stirs up a lot of old memories. The House That Held Her by Ellis Hart is available on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows Margot, who moves with her husband into a historical home in the small community of Mount Dora, Florida. And there she discovers something sinister under the floorboards and dives headfirst into an investigation of this place, this house, and the people that once lived there. Thank you so much for watching. In the following days, I will be highlighting some honorable mention thriller and horror books, as well as some of my favorite reads that are not thriller, mystery, and horror, so stay tuned. And please leave me a comment and let me know all of your favorite horror books that you read in 2025.